Hello and welcome to the Offside Line Pod with David Barnes and me, Pete Burns. If you enjoy what we do, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode and tell your friends, family, teammates, clubmates and the people you sit next to in the stand all about us. And if you'd like to leave a positive review, it would really help us with the old algorithm as it helps other people find us. Thanks for listening, and here's today's show.
It's the offside line.
This is not soccer. Is that clear?
Almost danger. Danger could be there. Fuck, it's a try. A magnificent try for the 21-year-old.
Brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant.
Hello and welcome to the Offside Line Pod. Barney, how are you?
Wonderful. Another sunny Monday morning in Portobello.
It's gorgeous today. It's lovely. And what a weekend. On Saturday, Scotland opened their campaign in the Women's World Cup with a 38-8 victory over Wales to take control of their own destiny in Pool B, with games against Fiji and Canada to come. It was a record crowd for the fixture with 10,054 fans in Salford and a record margin of victory for Scotland. Francesca McGee scored a sensational hat-trick, taking her tally to 13 tries in 23 tests, with Leah Brebner-Holden, Evie Gallagher and Emma Orr also crossing. Helen Nelson added 4 conversions. It was sweet revenge for Scotland after losing to a last-minute Welsh penalty in their World Cup opener 3 years ago. So, if Scotland beat Fiji, the lowest-ranked team in their group, next Saturday, they will almost certainly reach the knockout stages. So we're going to cross over to Eve McTiernan, who's down in Manchester. Eve, how are you? Great to have you on the show.
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you. Eve, where are you right now? What am I looking at behind you?
I am currently in my lovely Ibis Styles in Portland Street in Manchester.
Now, I presume that decor is on purpose. You haven't had a wild party in there and thrown all the furniture around.
No, me and Bathgate haven't gone that hard yet.
Stuart Bathgate and Eve wrecking the place, celebrating Scotland's victory on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame them. I wouldn't blame you if you had.
Well, we came close. Well, no, Stuart didn't come close. I came close to it. My mum and sister came down to surprise me. So we ended up having
The McTiernans ripping up Manchester.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
There was some sore heads yesterday.
I can imagine. Excellent.
Talk us through it all, because you're right down in the mix with it all. How was the atmosphere? How was the build-up? And then give us some feedback about the game itself.
Right, this is going to be a bold claim. That was one of the best atmospheres I have ever experienced at any rugby game. Male, female, senior, grassroots, you name it.
Fantastic.
Unbelievable.
And was it, sorry to interrupt you, was it like that from the beginning, or was it like that because of the way the game played out? Or was it,
From beginning to end, from when we arrived, just before, we arrived about 11:30, 12:15, so we were there for the first game. We were there for Australia-Samoa. Every single person in Salford was a Samoa fan come the second half. I am not kidding. They let the Wallaroos have their fun the first half, second half, it was no, we're all supporting Samoa.
Everybody's remembering their great uncle Tuipulotu and, whatever.
It was unbelievable. It was, honestly, I have never experienced anything like it. And it just went up a whole other level when it came to the Scotland-Wales game.
Can I ask just how does that work? Was it the same? How many people stay on for the second game? Is that the way it's working there? Is it a kind of day of rugby, or are we getting 2 different crowds in?
So it's a double header, so you buy 1 ticket for 2 games.
Yeah, and most people are doing both games. It's not like, you buy your ticket and you think, well, I'm only really interested in Australia, so I'll watch that, and then I'll probably watch the second game. They're generally signing up for both days, both matches, sorry.
Yeah, there was a few Australia fans that came and went but it took them till about the second half of the Scotland game before they actually went, no, okay, maybe we should go get some lunch, get some proper food. But there was, I think it was, 10,054 fans by the time the full-time whistle went at the Scotland game. Whole day was incredible.
What a brilliant setup. So that you think that works as a double header, as a kind of as a whole format. Yeah, that's brilliant. It's so interesting to hear that.
And also, coming from a media point of view, it just makes life so much easier because you can get yourself set up in time for the second. If you're obviously we were the second game, so we had plenty of time to wander about, get our bearings, get some food, get ourselves sorted, and get ourselves set up on the press deck. And there was no hassles whatsoever from that point of view. It was everyone was in together. We were all having a great time. We were all supporting Samoa, to be quite honest. There's very few of us supporting Australia on the press deck.
And then so. We move on to. Sorry, you mentioned the crowd there. 10,281. Is that what the number was for the crowd for the day?
I think that might have been overall, but we got told at full time of the Scotland game it was 10,054.
10,054. So that'll be the biggest. And I should have checked this before it came on. That'll be the biggest crowd Scotland Moon have ever played in front of. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
I can't think of when else They would have.
Might have been Six Nations Leicester Road against England. Might have been it, but I'm not sure.
We'll make that a pod quiz. Anybody that writes in with their answer, Pete, get a signed photo of Pete.
Yes, and I'll personalise it for you too. So
excellent, right? So if anyone can answer that question, was that the biggest crowd Scotland ever played in front of? It's probably not that hard a question with ChatGPT and everything these days. We should have, So.
Don't give them hints on how to cheat on how to find out, Barney. Just like this.
All right, yeah, sorry.
Please just write in.
You're going to ruin the whole point of the quiz.
Yeah, sorry. Ruined it again.
Yeah.
Barnes has ruined it again.
So the build up then from leaping on from the Australia game, Samoa game into Scotland Wales. What was it that made the atmosphere so special?
It was obviously everyone had their side. There was the amount of Scottish fans we saw walking in, and the amount of Scottish fans that lined up for the bus arrival. Unbelievable. I genuinely, again, never experienced anything like it. I was stood there in awe. I was trying to film for Lorna, but at the same time with that going, oh my, like goosebumps. I had goosebumps the entire day. And then when we got back into the stadium and all the fans started coming in, there was just the buzz. You could just feel everyone was excited for this. Everyone was up for this. Everyone knew it was going to be a good game. Regardless of the result, we knew we were guaranteed entertainment. Don't think anyone quite put money on a Fran McGee hatch.
No, or even within a first minute that she's getting try number one.
Yeah.
So
World Cup needs you. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it that way.
Yeah. You're saying, everybody felt like it was going to be just because of the kind of atmosphere, it was going to be a good day. You say that, and a friend of the pod, Craig Watson, who we all know is a miserable old sod, but he texted me, Craig drove down and he had a great day as well. It was really,
He drove down and drove back up,
it's crazy.
Minutes before the game and minutes after.
He's actually done it, I'll give him a wee plug because he's quite nervous, but he did a video of his day and he's put it on Instagram. I don't know if he's done it yet this morning. He's got a video of his day going down, leaving the house in the morning, but he was texting me the night before and his, Craig's like, but it's basically, I've got a bad feeling about this. Scotland are going to make an arse of it. It's going to ruin the whole World Cup. It's going to be a dead rubber. So we say, and I don't I'm not bringing this up to be a misery guts because I'm sure Craig will be as delighted as anyone that it wasn't like that. But as Scots, we're kind of used to that feeling, aren't we? So it is really good that probably certainly the day before the game, all of us are thinking. We all said it's too tight to call, and you just think these are the kind of games that.
And yet you still forced me to call it in my predictions.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's what we pay the big bucks. But in terms of that, it's great seeing a Scotland team actually. I'm not saying it's the only time it's ever happened, but it doesn't happen that often that they just turn up and the big game, the one that really matters, all the eyes are on it, and they actually properly boss it. It's pretty exciting day.
Unbelievable. It was a blowout. There's no other way to describe it than it was an absolute blowout. Fair play to Wales, but I have to give Wales credit because they did fight as hard as they started all the way to the end. But Scotland were just another level and they kept going up the gears, and it was just when you think they couldn't do any more, suddenly Emma Orr was diving over and you were like, where has this come from? Yeah.
And there's that kind of defensive set right towards the end. You're thinking, right at the end, you could.
I was sat there like, this is insane. They must be on absolute cloud nine from about 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Then I spoke to Rachel Malcolm and Fran McGee after, and both of them were like, no, we were fully convinced we were going to lose.
They're not going to say that.
They were so convinced, gonna pull a Scotland, we have to keep fighting because we've been there, done that and got the t-shirt. We've been comfortable. And then Wales have come from nowhere. Mm-hmm. So we had to keep fighting as if we were the ones losing at that point.
Eve, I think you've scunnered Pete a bit there. Pete's usually the enthusiastic bunny on this podcast.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm a spare part now.
More...
What am I meant to do?
No, I'm sorry. I'm still on cloud nine from Saturday. That was everything about it it was just amazing. It was like I can't wait for next Saturday. I'm like, right, how can it get better? Where do we go from here?
I had a slightly huffy exchange of text messages, WhatsApp messages with Eve after the game because Eve was doing the player ratings, and I've got this kind of bee in my bonnet that we've never given anybody a 10 because in my book you cannot produce the perfect performance, and if you do, then it's like completed rugby. You've completed rugby. What's the point of playing? So I texted to Eve.
I'm
and she'd
willing to
given
say
it.
Sam McGee did that on Saturday.
Yeah, well, I texted to Eve. I was actually going to give it. I said, I'm going to make it a 9.5. And she said, well, do what you want then. And so I was going to make it, so I felt bad. I was going to make it push it up to 9.75 or 9.99 or something. But I did put in, this should be a 10, but the editor has this weird rule.
I did appreciate that.
Yeah, and I got called out by the Bear. Ian Milne said that I was an idiot. He claimed that he'd produced a few 10 performances.
I think you've saved me putting that in from about 1 million abusive messages, considering Caitlin was sat next to me going, if she's not at least a 20, we're no longer friends.
I should have warned you beforehand. The player ratings is a poison chalice. It gets loads of hits. People love it, but you never get it right. And you get furious comments, like one after the other. You're an idiot. Why are they all so low? And then the next comment, you're an absolute... I agree with the guy above. You're an idiot. They're all too high. So you can never win with the comment section, the player ratings. But
they're just upset because they didn't get to experience the atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. What was your take on it, Pete?
Oh, I was just so impressed. It was, we said from minute one, just so exciting. The quality of the play was fantastic. I was really interested, actually, just from a technical aspect. And it's not necessarily refereeing, but around the breakdown was interesting because there are just so many jackal turnovers from both sides. Mm-hmm. And that has actually been a bit of a theme across the whole weekend's matches, and just the differentiation between that and then watching the rugby championship games Saturday afternoon, Saturday night, and then there's so many fewer turnovers at the breakdown, and just whether that is a technical difference in the two sides of the sport, or what is it? Is it slightly different attention to the breakdown in terms of hitting attacking rucks, so you have fewer opportunities for the jackler, or is it just an aspect of the game that gets more attention? There are more players who are able to do jackal turnovers, because they were across all different positions were doing them, and I was just fascinated by that aspect of
the one was Ellis Martin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ellis Martin went in for the jackal turnover, and it was quite possibly the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And my favourite thing is she's now clipped it and put it on her Instagram and going, a girl just wants to be EVG for the day.
Brilliant.
So who doesn't want to be EVG for a day?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, she was fantastic as well. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, just as I said,
these were World Cup debuts. Mm-hmm. They were so comfortable, and it wasn't a case of, right, we have to treat this as if it's the Six Nations. They were all so comfortable, but they were all so aware of the fact it was a World Cup, which I thought was amazing. Because they didn't want to downplay the occasion. They knew it was one of the biggest female World Cups we've had. It, like, sellout crowds across the board, all of that, and yet they were so cool, calm, collected. As soon as they went on that pitch, it was, no, this is business now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big thing after the last World Cup that they felt, really they were just happy to be there, and very disappointed ultimately with how they performed, because the occasion was bigger than how they played. So, and that affected how they played. So they've gone through that, and they've learned those lessons, and they're now taking a different mindset into this tournament, which is amazing. How are they looking ahead of the Fiji game? How are they looking in terms of injuries and general player welfare ahead of that one? And presumably they're obviously going to get their first team out again, guarantee progression out of the pool by winning that game.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if there were some rests. I wouldn't be surprised if we see maybe Emma Wassell coming off the bench rather than starting, purely because within the first 5 minutes she'd burst her nose. Yeah,
slashed her face open. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can understand if she maybe wants like a wee first half rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the fact that you've now got, that's the depth of squad that, whether it's Emma Wassell, Jade plays in second row, but Jade Conkle, Alex Stewart, I mean, they're just the two names that jump to mind, but they've got that flexibility wasn't there before, so it's
Alex Stewart had off the bench. I said that's in my player ratings, but I'm now thinking maybe I need to go back and change that, because I don't think I put enough emphasis on it. She was everywhere. She was the first person to ruck. She was running all the support lines. It was blink and you miss her. It was unbelievable.
I mean, it was a huge call not to start her, to be fair. Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah. For someone that's had the year that she has had and had to adapt her whole training around all of these lifestyle changes, for her to come on and just go, I'm here, this is me, I'm doing it. I was sat there in awe. Like, I did the interview with her when she made her announcement about having celiac disease and type 1 diabetes, and I was sat there in absolute awe when she came on, and she was back better than she's ever been. I was like, this is incredible.
What I love about Alex Stewart is, this is probably quite patronising for middle-aged guy to say, but you speak to her, we did a Zoom with her, and she's such a kind of quiet, well-spoken, polite, human being, and then, but she's obviously just got this absolute tiger inside her, in terms of the way, and she's tiny, really. You look at her compared to, some of the players she's up against, and she's just got this tiger inside her, and you think it's unbelievable. And you just, I've only met her in a rugby context, but off the pitch, when you speak to her, she was, you wouldn't think butter melt in her mouth. So, yeah.
Now, the challenge of Fiji at the weekend, having watched the Canada game that they played in the first round, obviously Canada, as expected, win that game quite comfortably, but some of the play from the Fijians was incredible, and they scored a try from within their own half, for example, which is out of this world. It's a massive banana skin for Scotland on Saturday because they go in as heavy favourites, best chance they've ever had to progress out of the pool, and we could do a Scotland, as we were saying, we're worried about in that Wales game. Presumably, the noises around the camp is that they are very aware of that danger, and they just have to take the same mindset that they had into the Wales game, into the Fiji game, and they just put Canada at the back of their mind, and they deal with that week 3. Is that kind of the noise coming out of the camp?
Yeah, one of the things that I really admire about Brian is he is very much, it is game, it's the typical quote, game by game, but he genuinely means it. Because we asked him a couple of questions about the Canada game, like, now you've got this out of the way, surely you're already looking to Canada, and he went, don't be ridiculous. He was like, no, what is the in that? He was like, it's game by game. Because if we get ahead of ourselves, that's when all the plans go out the window. That's when we get overwhelmed. That's when we don't work.
Mm-hmm.
So their whole prep for the pre-season has been Wales, 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 Wales. Nothing else has mattered but Wales. Because they've played them so many times, they know them so well, but they don't know them under Sean Lynn as well as they did. And he's come in and has this new philosophy, has taken them to a whole other level. But it's to the point where you don't know what's going on. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what Wales is going to what Wales team is going to show up. And obviously, no one expected that Wales team to show up on Saturday. No one expected it to be a 30-point beating.
No. Do you think there'll be a response from Wales? Do you think they could they be a danger to Canada in the next round?
Yeah, I would be very surprised if they don't come with revenge. I would be very surprised, because that's been the whole, being in the Wales camp, I've spoken to a couple of the players, I've spoken to Sean Lynn, and being around them, you can feel how badly they want to do this, how badly they want to be into the quarters. But at the same time, they're still going, what's the point in looking 2 games ahead? We still have to get through the first 2 games. Mm-hmm.
So going back to Scotland's prospects, I mean, it is an interesting one, because I think I agreed with Eve that, they may, he's not going to make wholesale changes, Brian, is he? But he may rest 1 or 2 players. He's got the capacity to do that now because he's got depth in this. It wasn't necessarily. But, Scotland's record of the World Cup, do you just go all guns blazing?
I would.
Any quarterfinals, great. I think if they win the pool, they'll probably face Australia. If they come second, they probably face England. I'm sure they'd rather face Australia. They've got a slightly better chance of getting to the semis if they face Australia. But
the issue is, if you do that, if you go all guns blazing in the pool, and the worst happens come Canada, and it's England we get in the semi-finals.
Quarterfinals.
I don't like saying Scotland has a B team, because they don't, or a second string team. They don't. They're all at the same level, and they are all incredible. The competition for the jerseys is unbelievable. But you would rather have your reliable starting 15, your Lana Skeldons, your Emma Wassells, your Sarah Bonners, all of them. You'd rather keep them safe and keep them fit and ready.
Yeah, I'm not sure they could. No matter who's fit, England are just such a phenomenon that. But
you want to give them the best shot. You never know. It's a World Cup. You never know what could happen. No one expected the Wales result, so I'm not saying that we're going to beat England, but I'm not saying we won't.
Yeah, but that's go back to my point.
That's fantastic, Eve.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
But then that goes back to my point: is is Canada the game where you kind of rest up? So you have 2 weeks leading into the England game. You get the job done against Fiji. It's difficult. It's a really difficult one, because
I think if you know you've qualified, then yes, you have a different conversation.
No disrespect to Fiji, because I think Fiji are fabulous. The stuff that they do is incredible, and where they have gotten themselves is incredible. But I would rather rest up against Fiji, so then you've got Canada. You've got, worst case scenario, if Fiji come out of the blocks and completely blindside us, it means we then have an extra chat. We've got a stronger team against Canada if we need it.
I don't want to kind of rain on your parade, Eve, but in terms of
always do.
No, I'm just wondering, in terms of where it was a great performance by Scotland. Where do they need to, where do they need to tighten up? Because as I say, there's never a perfect performance. There's never a perfect performance. I mean, they lost a maul try at the beginning, didn't they? Was that? And I only saw the highlights of the game. I should qualify here because I was I had the glory of Myerside for Kelso versus Watsonians on Saturday afternoon, and then it was a day off yesterday. But you guys watched the whole match. What bits do they need to tighten up as you strive?
The breakdown was an issue.
Yeah, breakdown was an issue. The maul try that Wales got, it was just them they did sleep a little bit. But as soon as that happened, it was, we're not letting that happen again. It didn't happen again.
Okay.
Scramble defence was good, but yeah, the breakdown was an issue. They got turned over quite easily, quite a few times.
Yeah. Some of the lineouts, I think it's not a case of they need, there's not much improvement needed. It's just a case of they need to tighten up a little bit, rather than, no, this was awful, we need to start again. No.
That's what it is at this level. There's no team that's bad at anything really, but if you're not right on the money, you can look bad pretty quickly. And I suppose that's what I'm getting at. I'm sure, it's a great honor. I mean, the bit that I hope we see more of, and it was, and as I say, I only saw the highlights, but the two Evie Gallagher's try and Emma Orr's try, just hitting those lines, at that pace with that, it was just clockwork. It was poetry in motion. They had, it was players that knew what they were about, knew what they wanted to do. The team knew what they wanted to do, and I think if you can get enough ball, quick enough ball, and play rugby like that, then there could be a handle. There's
Helen
teams that all can live with that.
Thompson have a lot to answer for both of them.
Yeah, and it's not always been that. It sounds dead simple, but there's been a long time for both men's and women's Scotland team. You didn't have players going through holes like that. So it's great to watch.
The way that both Nelly and Tomo read the game, unbelievable. They were gaps.
Yeah.
That didn't exist. EVG, Emma Orr, Fran McGee flying in from nowhere.
I mean, they've got a proper, the midfield experienced, good rugby players, know each other, know the game, and then you've got real firepower. It's a bit of a winning combination.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect. Thank you so much, Eve. That was awesome.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
We'll get you back on the show soon for the rundown in the next games.
See you later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
That was good to have Eve on. Still high as a kite after, and I don't blame her. Great, Eve's, she's just finished her journalism degree in Glasgow, and, kind of desperate to get down to cover the World Cup. She's down there. She's doing good job for us, and, Scotland doing brilliantly, to be young and enjoying life in the fast lane like that.
On tour in Manchester, having a great time. Awesome. Exactly. So Barney, as you said, as we were chatting to Eve, you were actually down at Watsonians for that game. So just to go through the men's Prem results, Watsonians beat Kelso in that game. You're at 36-20. Ayr beat Hawks 57-21. Melrose beat Heriots 43-17. Curry beat Selkirk 55-29. And GHA marked their return to the Prem with a 29-20 win away from home against Hawick at Mansfield Park. So lots of talking points. The main one has probably got to be that GHA result against Hawick, but what were your takeaways from the weekend and your visit to Myerside?
Yeah, well, I mean, Myerside, Watsonians Kelso. I think that was, we do predictions on the Friday in our preview, and I think that was the only one I got wrong. I had Kelso to win that one. It was too tight to call. Watsonians have lost a lot of their senior players, who were crucial last year, like Jason Baggett, Freddie Owsley, Neil Irvin Hess, and brought in some young guys just out of school or just a year out of school who haven't been playing at playing at Premiership level. So I really didn't know what to expect from them. I thought they'd be okay. I thought they'd be strong, but I just thought Kelso beat them in the first game of the season down at Poinder Park last year. So I just backed them, and I got it wrong. Watsonians were excellent. It was a pretty even contest, and ultimately, the classic early season, kind of affair. Bit scrappy. Both teams, both coaches spoke afterwards about how they're a bit frustrated. They thought they'd lost the kicking game. Both of them did, and ultimately, I think Watsonians, they were probably a bit more organised. It's been a pretty short pre-season. Kelso, kind of, the border clubs get disrupted by farming, the kind of harvest and stuff like that. Watsonians are just a bit more organised, and they, kind of just basically took control of the game, and just moved beyond Kelso's reach without ever really blowing them away. The guy, young boy Jackaman, playing number 8, who's out at Bury. I think he played Bury last year, but he's only second year at school. He was excellent, and a really good positive start. Davy Wilson, the Watsonians coach I spoke to afterwards, he loves managing expectations and pointing out that it's always a bit up and down when you've got a young team, and don't read too much into this, but he'll be pretty happy with that. And then the talking points, as you say, Ayr went as expected. I think that was a bit of a surprise. Heriot's getting they were doing,
they did.
Down at the Green Yards. They're in a kind of similar boat. They've moved on a lot of players. A lot of players have moved on, and quite a few young guys coming in. So I think they'll hope to get better. And Hawick were winning at half time, but ended up losing to GHA, who were just up. So that
did you call that one?
Most people will spot and think, a bit of a turn up for the books.
Did you call that one beforehand?
I think I did. Yeah, I did.
Wow, that's a huge call, Barney.
7 debutants in their team. I think 4 of them, 4 on the bench, 3 on the bench, and certainly one starter. Just out the under 18s, which is great. And you read between the lines of Graham Hogg, their coach's comments. Talking about how it's they've got all these young players coming through. It's time to kind of blood the next generation. A bit of an emphasis on the kind of the traditional Hawick spirit of young Hawick men coming into the team and making it their own. So I thought it was going to be a hard outing for them. When I put Hawick to win, I did think GHA to win. I was a wee bit. Yeah, I expect a bit of blowback on that. I don't think there was very much, which means that maybe I think people in Hawick understand where they are. I don't think, and I certainly didn't get the impression they were massively devastated or worried about that result. I think they're frustrated that they could have won it. They feel like they were in a winning position to win it, but I think they believe they'll get a bit better as the season goes on, and they are in a rebuilding phase, so they're not going to be title contenders this year. One team goes down. I kind of followed up on that after not knowing the answer to it last week. One team down, no playoffs, which is a bit of a shame. I quite like the playoffs. It's, the relegation playoff, it kind of creates a bit more tension. But I think, Hawick are just, it's a rebuilding year for Hawick, and it's about how well they do that.
Yeah, it's a shame about the playoff game because although I wasn't a massive fan of 3 teams going down, it did mean that every single game was exciting all season last year, especially at the end. Top and bottom, it was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you do wonder whether that's
and that peril Jeopardy's not going to be there in the same way.
Yeah, and you at the bottom and then at the top, you think about Ayr are going to be there. I think Melrose have indicated they're going to be there. Curry. The danger is, I think there'll be enough teams that there'll be a genuine battle for fourth. I was probably about to start saying there, you could have 4 teams becoming detached at the top of the league. Only one team go down at the bottom, and then there's a big fat bit in the middle there that the people are just really playing for pride. But I think there'll be enough competition. Certainly, there's maybe 6 or 7 teams that could at this stage feel like they might make the playoffs.
Fourth spot.
So if they all hang in there, then hopefully that keeps the thing pretty lively.
Battling for the trip to Millbrae to get a horsing from Ayr. Yeah,
it was interesting. We do a questionnaire, send a questionnaire to all the coaches before the start of the season. We put it's a kind of team by team guide, and we've not done it in the past, but we said which is the best away day, and there's about 3 or 4 said Ayr. And I genuinely believe them. It's a great atmosphere. It's a good bus trip. I suspect they don't say it. They're on a hiding to nothing, so there's a wee bit of a kind of camaraderie in that, and nothing to lose in a sense. And so, going down to Ayr is probably not it's not an easy afternoon, I would have thought. But I think certainly the clubs like Melrose and Heriots of these worlds will view it as a real challenge that they that they want to be involved in. You want to be pushing yourself, but I mean, it's hard to see anyone tripping Ayr up this year as it stands. But
no,
we'll wait and see.
Well, even just from the outset, I would say you're absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is good on Ayr. It's up to the rest of the teams to get up to that.
Oh yeah,
level.
Totally. Yeah, and they're they're redeveloping. I mean, even just seeing stuff. They've got a new entrance for little tweaks to the ground.
Yeah.
It's a new entrance. You've got a car park. Seeing all their pre-match stuff that they had set up for kids and all the rest of it. It's just a brilliant setup.
Yeah,
and it's exactly what everyone should be aspiring to emulate in their own. And then and off the back of that, getting, I'm sure part of the appeal of the away day there is the fact you're going to get a big crowd.
Yeah. I mean, they have these big lunches, whether it's a farmer's lunch or the ladies' lunch or the local businesses' lunch, and that sell out, half-pished folk watching the game, getting a bit noisy. It's quite good fun. It's interesting you talk about the new entrance road. It's that went on for. I mean, they got a big, huge donation from a club member to build, to stay at Millbrae, because there's some chat that they're going to move to Dan Park, and the big thing was, you remember the road into Millbrae?
Yeah.
It's this, up past where they have Robert Burns, the
memorial thing.
Yeah, and so they used to bang on and send me emails and try and get me to write about this new road, and you're thinking, I mean, it's not that sexy, I'm glad they build, but then they invited me down for the launch of it, the opening it up, and I mean, it's really smart, and it does change the place completely, because it's just it's a road, and there's you can come in, you can park it, but they've also built a state of the art AstroTurf or 4G pitch there, so and it is game changing. It's part of this bigger plan that they're going to develop the clubhouse. They're going to develop, and they're putting a kind of cafe and shop in, and so you can see that there's they're doing it right, and it's a big project that if once it gets to completion, it's creating a proper hub there that the rugby club's the core part of it, but it's going to be a sports facility for loads of people in the air, and really a revenue generator for them as well. So they're a club that have really got big plans, working really hard. So good on them. We say that a lot. It's amazing. We always have to say that, because, like, in Scotland, we all love having a bit of a niggle at the top.
Tall poppy syndrome. Yeah, absolutely, cut them down. But I think all power to them, and just keep going, keep pushing the boundaries, keep developing.
Yeah,
get everyone to be the trendsetter. Get everyone chasing you, and everyone then has to pull their own socks up and try and copy what you're doing.
Yep, absolutely.
So this weekend, Scotland face Fiji at 2:45 on Saturday. In the men's Prem, Hawks host Curry, GHA have Melrose, Kelso host Hawick, Selkirk have Watsonians, and Heriots welcome Ayr. And the National Leagues all get underway as well. And in the women's Prem, Watsonians play Corstorphine on Friday night. And then on Sunday, it's Carther, Biggar, Heriots, Hillhead, Jordan Hill, and Stirling, Geary. Another great weekend of rugby. I really like that split from Friday to Sunday as well. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking, so Edinburgh Rockies have got Gala home.
Yeah, Gala at home.
So we'll see how they get on.
Yep, they had a great win against Stumel last week, but that's Gala's a big one.
So it's pleasing to beat your friends across the park.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to the Stirling game though, where they WP&L rolling out for, and there's a chat about Dave Ewers going there or something like that.
Yeah,
and something mad like
WP made it quite clear that he was quite keen to stay in Scotland. There was nothing going from coaching wise when he hung up his pro boots, and which I find hard, to understand. Really, if you've got these guys, you can say what you want about these project players, but you bring them in, and one of my issue with project players is, or one of the issues you could make is they come in, they get caps, they disappear, and they don't put anything back into the game. Now, there's a guy that wants to hang around. His kids are born here, who may have some pretty good genetics, by the way, in terms of looking for the next generation tight head props. There's one thing, WP coming back and playing second tier rugby, club rugby in Scotland, and putting something back in, and I don't know what I'd make of those two guys as well, turning up for Stirling to play against Edinburgh Rockies.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on that. I kind of like the idea. Certainly if they were back in the Prem,
yeah,
I would welcome that quality of player coming into the league and not just improving the standard of that team, but you're doing a huge amount to upskill and educate the players in your team, but also the bar is then rising so high for those that you're playing that's going to increase the effort that they have to go to during the week, going to the gym, knowing that down the line you're going to be facing these guys.
Yeah,
I think that's I don't mind that as long as you're not going to be bankrupting your club because you're paying these guys, then I don't have an issue with it, to be honest.
Fair enough. Yeah, I suppose that's right. Yeah.
I've always had this dream that if I was to win the lottery, I'd be hoovering up all sorts of players to come play for Ackies down at Rayburn Place.
Number 7, Richie McCaw.
Finally win an official championship. That'd be great.
And then picking yourself, do the old,
obviously.
The whole squad, Richie McCaw.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you wouldn't even pick yourself at loose head prop. Surely you'd have yourself.
Oh no, I'd be in the back row. I'd be in the back row at that stage. Or standoff maybe, yeah. Once they've put 50 points on the opposition, I'll come on and I'll have my pink shorts on so I can't be tackled either.
We can all dream, Burnsy. We can all dream.
Yeah. Well, that is my dream. So, I'll keep playing the lottery and we'll see what happens.
Excellent.
So you went down to Murrayfield today. Tell us all about that. What was that for?
Yeah, so it was the kind of media launch of the new Open Conference, which is, I think we've discussed it before, the new schools and club under 18 and under 16 conference. It's a big step forward in the sense that it's the first time ever we've had the top rugby clubs and schools playing together against each other. 8 teams involved in all, 3 clubs, which is Ayr, Stirling County and Boroughmuir, and then 5 private schools: Stuart's Melville, George Watson's, Merkston Castle, Dollar and Strathallan. I thought I was going to get lost there, Burnsy, but I got there in the end. So, I mean, it's not without controversy. I mean, in the sense that it's madness that we've had this system where the top schools and the top clubs, originally hardly ever played at all. In recent years, there's been a wee bit of a push to try, and in fairness, credit us to people like Roddy Deans at Merkston Castle School who've worked hard to try and, get more games against each other because, in a small country with a small rugby playing population, not having the best playing the best is crazy. So they've managed to introduce this at the top tier. I think there's probably concern about how far it goes. That's great for the 8 teams, clubs, schools involved, but are we going down the Super 6 route where it's very centralised, very focused on a small number of players? What happens to the clubs and schools and the players that are out with that? Do these clubs become super hoovers? So there's all these questions out there, and we kind of discussed it a bit with Gav Scott, who's the director of rugby development, and Neil Graham, who's the head of game development for in the rugby development department, who are basically 2 SRU guys who are probably the drivers of it, are certainly the guys behind it. And I caught up with them when I was at Murrayfield for this launch today.
Brilliant. Well, let's hear from them now.
So we've got Gavin Scott and Neil Graham here, and we're on our second take because I forgot to press record, which happens quite a lot on them. And what I was trying to ask you is, how big a step is this in terms of step, hopefully in the right direction, in terms of where we need to get to with the under 18s boys rugby?
I believe it's a really exciting step. It's something we've talked about long before I was in the department. I've been in the department 4 years. It's been talked about for at least 10. It was very, very close to happening in a slightly different form when COVID struck, and it didn't. And so as things happen, that's then taken another 5 years to bring it back to the table, and I think it's an exciting thing for us to do. We always talk about what can we do that's different and special in Scotland. How can we do things that are just about us? This is an attempt to do that.
It's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming, yeah, and it's been and so we've got to try it. I think that the biggest thing for me, I think, is be brave and try something. Try something that's a little bit different. It's a little bit uncomfortable for schools and for the youth teams because they have different ways of building up during a week. They have different ways of playing fixtures, and so it's a different thing. But I think it's a great for us to try, and then we can build on it next year. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, Neil, in terms of the practically, how is it going to work? So they start this weekend. 8 teams, 4 play 4 on Saturdays or Sundays, or how do you get to the bottom?
The weekend of, so we've got games on Friday. First game, Watson's Dollar on Saturday, Friday night, sorry, and then games generally that Friday night or Saturday morning. We've allowed the clubs and schools to look at that, scheduling themselves and work out the best opportunities. There's some Friday night games, I think, down there. Like Ayr are quite keen to play a few of their games Friday nights, which would be great for the boys as well. And there's obviously an experience thing in there as well, where those players who are going to go on, as some of them will, to play under 18s, under 20s for Scotland, some of them will be in that. They're playing evening fixtures, so it's a good experience for them. So yeah, straight run through. Obviously we've got the cups are separate as well, school cup, youth cups that will culminate in December, and then we're into pathway regional fixtures after Christmas. So yeah, this fits well into the calendar. Really good opportunity for players and coaches and referees. This will be a really competitive conference. That's the whole purpose of doing it, and we'll review that at the end as the games are hopefully a lot more competitive for both clubs and schools, so giving the players a good experience.
Yeah, and there's always something you can pick a hole at. But in terms of we're talking about 8 clubs, schools, big clubs and schools here. is the ambition to kind of expand this so that we can have a second division? I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but you look at an Edinburgh Academy, for example, or a Curry. These clubs and schools would fancy a pop at it. Is that the next step?
That they will, and we had a great nomination process and selection process, and these clubs and schools there's a lot of good environments out there, putting a lot of work into strength and conditioning, special skills work, all that stuff. So we've definitely got a group of other clubs and schools who were very close to being part of this, and I think what we wanted to do was make sure that this season is we need to try it. It's the first time we've probably ever attempted this, I think, Gav, and this is an opportunity to try it. We will look at what happens in the future seasons without committing to anything. I think there's opportunities there. If feedback is positive from players, from coaches, from the schools and clubs, there'll be opportunities for us to look into possible expansion opportunities in future seasons. Whether that's next season or seasons after, I think we'll hold on confirming anything in that space. Yeah. But definitely, it's part of discussions as we go through the early start of the season to look at what's next.
I suppose the complexity as well is that we've got to look at it in the whole as well. So we've got to look at it as a whole development system and how it works with, say, regional leagues that'll happen as well, and cup competitions and other things. That we want to make sure that all rugby in Scotland all works, and that one thing doesn't inadvertently cause issues for others. So there's got to be a pathway that people can get up through, but there's got to be great playing opportunities and great opportunities for kids to play rugby at the level that's appropriate for them. So we want to make sure that it works with whatever else wraps around it as well, in different leagues and cups, etc.
Yeah, and you mentioned that the Scottish Schools Cup, and one of the coaches here has already said the cup's still a big one for us.
Yeah,
so it means that it's not detached. There's still going to be opportunities for the next tranche of teams and players to kind of have a shot against these guys.
That's right. Yeah. And there'll be non-conference clubs and schools who may win cups, and that's the investment they might make into that, and that might be different, and that can only be good for the game. The more we can get that spread of performance across many environments and many bits of the country, the better it is for everyone.
Definitely. In terms of your involvement, you guys obviously came up with the idea, tried to work out how the whole thing's going to pull together. Have you just left them to get on with it now, or are you kind of more actively involved in these 8 clubs and schools? Or?
So from the start of the application process, we developed what we call a youth player development framework. So it's a list of, you call them criteria is probably the right word, on-field and off-field criteria. So that's what they were assessed against to get into this conference. So we've been in relatively regular conversations with the clubs and schools. Obviously summer holidays have taken a bit of a hit there, but we've got a meeting actually tomorrow night with them just to continue to explore how they're going to improve, because a big part of this is all the clubs and schools want to continue to improve their environments, whether that's strength and conditioning, whether that's through specialist front row coaching, scrum half coaching, whatever it is. So yes, we will be supporting these clubs, but it's not, as Gav mentioned, it's not just about these 8. We have a group of clubs, around about 16 clubs who've received some youth development funding from us. Our teams, my team in particular, will be out into those clubs, which stretches beyond the 3 clubs in this conference. We'll be in those clubs this season, working with them to support them. So definitely trying raising the standard for a large proportion of clubs, not just the 3.
Yeah, because I mean that is the concern, isn't it? There's 3 clubs become super clubs, and if you de-incentivise the other clubs, potentially if it's not managed.
Yeah. There's only so many kids can play at the weekend. If there's 20 in each of these environments, it's 160 boys can play on a weekend if I get that number right and all the games are on, and there's many more will play in any given weekend. So it's important that there are other structures outside this one, and this is our conference as part of how we deliver rugby across the whole of a season, where it's more age group and district focused post-Christmas. It's more clubs and schools focused pre-Christmas, which I think is a really nice balance, and then regional cups, so there's other opportunities post-Christmas as well for different levels of players. So I think it's making sure we've got that mix right, and we're able to deliver things that's for everyone, and then people can progress through different levels as they're able to.
Yeah, and the regional thing's key as well, because you need like there's a lot of kids that could be bloody good rugby players that aren't going to end up here.
That's
You know,
right.
you know, they need to have that pathway.
Definitely, absolutely, and that's something we know we can't miss. We know we need to have a better and more comprehensive scouting network outside of any league and structure and schools. So that's something we're continually working on, and we'll progress and try and get more people out into the community game, because we know that's where a lot of these kids can come from. You know, they can come from anywhere, and the nature of rugby is such that it suits developing teens as teens get older and bigger and stronger. In the boys' game, that's how that works. Same in the girls' game, but at different speed and sometimes earlier. So we need to acknowledge that and make sure there's enough competition going on, enough of the time that someone can still
Make a late surge, yeah.
not be part of this at 16, 17, 18, but come through at 18 or 19 because they've been a late developer and they've played at a local side, but there's then the care put into them from then on. They can make it to whichever level they want to get to.
Magic. So, Stuart Edwards, you've been a kind of proponent of this or something like this for a long time. So, presumably you're delighted that we've kind of got there in the end.
Yeah, no, I'm a massive advocate of this, and I've been super keen that we've tried to merge clubs and schools for as long as I can remember. Really, in this job, I think it's really important that we try and showcase the best of talent from both sides of the coin, if you like, around schools and clubs, and not schools or clubs. I think it's the more we can get these guys from Stirling, Ayrburn and Muir, and hopefully more in the future, together with the top schools, and it can only be a good thing for Scottish rugby. And for us personally, it's a really exciting new challenge. It's not the same teams we always play every year. It's a completely different dynamic, and hopefully a different sort of challenge for our players and coaches as well.
And you feel that buzz amongst the boys? Do they realise that this is a kind of opportunity, or at just 17 you're just playing what's in front of you?
Yes and no. I think, like, for us, like the Schools Cup is still our priority, and that's this competition almost prepares us for that. So the boys are obviously excited by the Open Conference, but the Cup is what it drives us at under 18, under 16 levels, and this is an improved stepping stone in the previous conference, I would say, for something slightly different to get our teeth into. And yeah, the kids are excited, but they'd be excited by playing against anybody, right? They wouldn't. If they're not excited by playing rugby with their mates at 17, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're excited by the unknown. Like, we've got Ayr this weekend, and they've never really had much interaction with Ayr in the past. We play them a bit in kind of development games at the end of the season, but I think they're excited, but not any more so than they would be for any other competition. I certainly am. From a coaching end, it's definitely it's a new challenge. It's an exciting challenge.
Yeah, and it's going to be it's going to be a different experience for these boys playing against Ayr. You know, it's not like playing one of the other private schools. Is it?
I think the longer you do this, you get to know the coaches a bit better. You know, you look at Roddy and Kearnsey, for example. We know each other inside out, and they know me inside out. So we know each other coach, and that in some ways gives you a really different challenge, because you're trying to change and move. But with the clubs, you don't really know their style or their kind of general way of playing, and we'll obviously get to know that more the more we see video and the more we start to get a picture of these teams. But this first weekend we're kind of going in blind, so I think it's quite an exciting way to start.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that a few of the coaches from both the schools and the clubs have said to me is, you know, it's very different. The clubs play a different kind of rugby. It's kind of probably nuggetier, a bit rough around the edges. But that's what we need our boys exposed to, don't we?
I mean, I don't know. I know I've been chatting to Pat there, who's telling me that he's been in doing Mall and Scrum with the under 18s, and it would depend on the profile of the club. You know, I'd imagine Stirling will play different to Burramuir, and Burramuir will different to Ayr. But just like Watsons would play different to Merky, and we'd play different to Merky, so, or Strath or whatever else. So I think we'll only know the answer to the question when we see it. Like, I'd like to think there'd be a physical edge in the school games as well. It's maybe just not seen in that way. Yeah. You know, I don't think the stereotype of schoolboy rugby being soft and club rugby being hard is right. I think you look at some of the top school games now, they'll be just as physical as the club games, but we'll find that out on Saturday, I suppose.
Yeah. You kind of alluded to there. I mean, we don't get ahead of ourselves, but you know, do you hope to see this kind of developing so that we have a second division of Open Conference and teams coming up and down, and it's
100%. I would be in support of it growing as much as possible. I think we have to incentivise and reward clubs or schools that are really ambitious to be part of it, and whether it's a second tier, whether there's 2 pools, whether you have relegation and promotion, I don't know, but I think there has to be some sort of reward for doing well in it, but also consequence for not doing well in it. It's a performance environment competition, and if there's schools or clubs that are nipping at the heels of the schools or clubs in the competition, then they're maybe not being replaced, but they have to then grow or make it bigger or better. And I think I hope it will happen that way. If we had 20 environments, then that can only be a good thing when it comes that way. But I understand why it's 8 right now, but hopefully in the future it'll get bigger and bigger.
Magic. Good note to end on, Edo. Thanks very much. So we've got Pat MacArthur here, who is just telling me that you're going to play their brand of rugby against these.
Yeah, I think there'll be some contrasting styles about. Our boys are excited. We at your rugby club, we try and play our brand of rugby, from first team to second team to 18s, especially now with Fraser has been with the first team for so long through Super 6, moved down as head coach. We've got Lewis McNamara one of the forwards as well, and I'll go down and try and impart my wisdom. But the boys are excited to show what Ayr Rugby Club is about and how Ayr play rugby, and take that against a lot of these boys from Edinburgh schools that might not have come across that style of rugby. And I think that's exciting, and that's a thing to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because we talk a lot about the advantages that the schools have in terms of time on task and resources, but I suppose what they don't have is that kind of cradle to the senior team. There's a big it's a big thing there all the way through.
A big part of my role is now to try and work out what is the pathway for under 16s to 18s to first team, and what we try and do is we're picking 3, 4, 5 of the top boys, and this is what the private schools might not be able to do. The top boys, pull them into our first team, get them to experience, rub shoulders with ex-professionals, players, your boys that are top of Prem 1, and understand the physicality and get confidence, so when they go back down to their 18s, size, experience, they're understanding exactly how we do rugby and what it takes. And a lot of that to me is that forwards should understand how to be forwards, backs should understand that, and yes, we have your skills and stuff, but we try and really dive into individual or position specific skill work and pull them all the way through, and they're scrumming and they're mauling against our team and they're learning a lot, and then they go back and then hopefully see that progress through into the club games.
Yeah, magic. Who have you got first up?
We have Stu Mel.
Away. Is that this weekend?
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Look, it's a transition year for us. We've got new coaches in there. We've got a new head of youth rugby performance and a different plan. So there's a bit of bedding in here, but it's exciting. And look, good on the competition. It's good